Man, I think the thing that was super interesting is, that so much of the markets are manipulated through bots and algorithms and everything else. It was sort of like the algorithms were programmed to have a reaction from Donald Trump and or Bessent that was going to be kind of, you're not going to do what you say you're going to do. Because what's crazy about this whole thing is they forecasted this tariff day on April 2nd back in February. Everybody knew the date it was coming. And it's crazy. When it happened and they did what they said they were going to do, the market sells off. And I think it's like, was the algorithm tuned to say, yeah, politicians say this, but then they do the opposite? It was so fascinating to see.
I found that exact same thing fascinating. I think two things. I think one, it was a bullish mindset. Just we've had so much, the markets only go up, and everyone knows that doing what they're talking about would be very bad for the market, so they won't do it. They can't do it. He's just bluffing. This is just the art of the deal with Trump. And I always kind of took the other side of that. I thought to myself, no, if he wants to, the system is broken, and the system needs to be fixed. And if you want to fix it, you might have to break some glass to do it. And my sense was, he's a gutsy guy, and he's not afraid to break glass. Look at how he's behaved politically. He's taken many stances that I know most people didn't think he could beat Hillary, and he did. And so, kudos to him for sticking by his guns. And even today, and this is probably why if the market doesn't crash next week, I think there'll be a lot of talk that, well, he's still going to back off, that these tariffs aren't real. And there's some interesting things in there. I don't want to go into it in great detail, but the whole way they calculated the tariffs and they messaged it.
With the boards and
with the boards and the tariffs are equal to the trade deficit that they've been running, and that's what they've been charging us. So we're going to charge half of that to them. There's some real political salesmanship, I should say, involved in that. And so be it. That's the way the game is played, right?
Dude, there's some genius to that, and I think one of the things I appreciate most about the big print is that it's easy to comprehend, right? Even in the title, the book, the cover, it's easy to comprehend, and it's easy for normies. And I think when you think about like Donald Trump in their administration or even his campaigns, I'm trying to think back to what did Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton actually run on, right? What were their slogans, right? And I don't remember. I remember Obama ran on hope in 2008, and you remember those slogans, right? But make America great again. Make America healthy again. ERS, right? It's pretty easy to catch on.
Very simple, and the message is so on point. Listening, everyone should take the time to listen to Scott Bessent's 1 hour-long interview with Tucker, because there's a lot of great signal in that interview. And I love the part where he just talks about how the bottom half of this country is just taking it on the chin. And it's just been incredibly unfair. And it's because the monetary system has been rigged against them. And if anyone wants to understand that rigging, obviously a plug for my book, buy my book. I've tried to write it in as clear and simple a language as possible. The goal of that book is to get the average person, the average citizen, to read it and go, oh my God, I understand. Now I understand why I'm getting eaten alive by inflation. Now I understand why I can't get ahead. Now I understand why the system's broken. Oh, and that's the bad news. The good news is, oh, look at this hopeful emerging solution. Look at this group of people that are supporting that solution. Look at this technology that can make things better. If we can, move towards sound money, all of our lives are going to get better. The world's going to be fairer. We're going to have less wars. There are incredible benefits above and beyond just number go up. So, I really, 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 please, if you can, support the book. Give it away to friends. Tell people about it. We got to get this thing to go viral. We got to, Morgan Housel sold 7 million books on something called The Psychology of Money. It's a good book. It's a good personal interest book. But if he can sell 7 million copies, we got 330 million people in this country. They're all hurting. We ought to be able to sell, a fair number of books, and that's the goal.
So what do you think now that we're at the beginnings of what I think the cycle you predicted, the 10, 20, 30%, correction coming in the markets, what do you see the rest of the year looking like in terms of Bitcoin, in terms of the market in general?
Yeah, so I've always said, don't trust me for market predictions, because nobody ever gets them right. I can't get them right. Anyone who tells you they can is lying. But a general trend I feel comfortable with. I think that the stock market has seen its peak. I feel extremely comfortable with that. I think that based on all of the free money that boosted the stock market and created the everything bubble, that there's a very high probability that at the end of this calendar year, the stock market is substantially lower than it is now. The stock market has been the economy. The top 10% account for 50% of the spending. The top 10% own 84% of the stocks. When you take 20 or 30% off the top 10%'s retirement portfolio, guess what? they stop spending money.
Yeah.
They don't take trips, they don't use hotels, they don't use airplanes, they don't buy cars. They just cut back because they don't have as much money to spend. And so that leads to a recession, which then becomes reflexive because, we buy less cars, then the factory worker who makes cars gets laid off. And so I think we're headed into a downturn. It's long overdue. It's going to be painful. I'm not happy about that, but it is what it is. And then if we look at historically, and again, the book lays this out, the Federal Reserve response to this is, at some point they've been fighting inflation. They have not solved it, but they're going to declare victory, even they don't really have it. And they're going to say, gosh, unemployment's really, the Somme rule has been violated. Unemployment's going up quickly. We need to address stimulus and get things going. And Trump is going to get his wish. They're going to cut rates, and they're going to start slowly. When that's not enough, they're going to get more aggressive. When that's not enough, they're going to do QE. QE is printing money, and there's nothing that likes printing money more than Bitcoin, right? I mean, they do that, and so I think we're still in a 4-year cycle. Excuse me, and I think 140 is the next stop.
Oh, I 100% agree. I just said that a little bit earlier. It's right around that same price targeted number. And I think people underestimate the Fed's stated mandate is price stability and employment. Their third mandate that they don't talk about is that our job as the federal bank and central bank is to serve the other banks, the Wall Street banks that are member institutions of the Fed in this cabal. And so that's the third unstated mandate that they run on. And so when Jamie Dimon loses money, when equity portfolios are too deflationary, we have to reinflate. When your tire goes flat, you don't drive around on a flat tire. You put more air into it. And that's what liquidity does into the markets. So their primary thing is to reinflate.
That's an excellent point, Dante. I mean, the third mandate has always been healthy and continuously operating financial markets. And we know that when that is threatened, like in the March 2020 example, the 10-year went no bid. And they can't have that. In 2008, the banking system almost melted down and the ATMs weren't going to work. They couldn't have that. And so if we get to that point, I'm not sure we will get how close we'll get to that, but we could. If we get to that point, we know one thing's for certain. They will do what Neil Kashkari says, there's an infinite amount of cash in the Federal Reserve. Yeah. Because they'll just run the printer.
Yeah. That's super fascinating. Who is one character or one person that you're really following? I know you mentioned this Scott Besson interview. I wholeheartedly agree. I think it is some of the most fantastic content on how the world actually works. Because if you think about this guy, he had his fun. He was one of the Soros, Druckenmiller kind of students and disciples. He knows the world. He knows the people personally. He knows exactly how things work in the front of the house and in the back of the house. And he's giving us a financial masterclass in order to forecast what we should do next. And I don't know if people are fully appreciating and listening to all that he's saying.
I think that's completely right. I mean, if you think back, they actually telegraphed this move.
Yeah.
And people didn't listen to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, my guess is that going forward, people are going to listen much, much more carefully to what these guys are saying. Now, having said that, they're not beyond. I mean, I think there are two areas where I think they fall a little bit short. I think they're being overly optimistic on how quickly they can solve this. But hey, it's politics. You got to be optimistic, right?
Yeah.
And I also think that they sometimes mix up their message on the dollar, and they say they want a strong dollar policy. But a strong dollar policy really is not compatible with getting rid of Bretton Woods and reshoring all our industry. And there's no question that in inflationary terms and in foreign currency terms, they have to weaken the dollar.
They have to.
They've got to.
That's the untold story that's happening right now. So the dollar's at 101 from 108 or 109, which it was before. And that's actually helping partners globally to be able to invest more money and currency back into the United States stock market. So I think they're priming for what should be a pretty strong several months of growth. And from an average normal person, the gap between the 10-year, right, the 10 years at 3.9 and your mortgage rate is about 2.5 points right now. And what happens when creditors have more faith in the government? Well, then we know if the government's not going to go default, right, that 3.9 to 6.5 goes from 3.9 to 6 to 5.5. And that allows normal everyday people to afford a mortgage, to afford a home.
The Sen used the word, they're a little bit betwixt and between. I mean, they're trying, they've got, DOGE and the deregulation policies are trying to make everything more efficient, but that takes time. And in turn, on the other side of the monetary side, they're trying to get conditions looser. And some have arguably said they wanted to croak the stock market to help the bond market, and maybe that's true. I mean, I think there's a grain of truth in that. And Besant himself pointed out that, the stocks are owned. I mean, a lot of the people who voted for Trump don't own stocks.
Yeah.
The bottom half of the country, they don't own stocks.
Yeah.
So they're not looking at their 401ks. They don't have them.
Yeah.
They're like, and to them, it's like, well, some rich guys lost some money. Too bad. I hope you don't bail them out again like you did in 08.
So, Larry, you talk a little bit about in your book about one of the most, impactful stories about, your journey here is that, one guy read it who was a trucker and said he listened to all of your content and got him into Bitcoin. I mean, tell me a little bit about why you enjoy this conference specifically and what about it here, gives you hope.
I love Gary. He's been doing these for a long time. He does a great job with them, and I knew I'd see a lot of great people at this conference. So obviously I'm selling books and trying to promote the message, really trying to spread the message. So that's why I'm here. It's just a lot of Texan people are Bitcoiners. The states kind of got the ethos of Bitcoin, right? Don't mess with Texas, and so it's just a fun thing. I mean, I saw a bunch of old friends here, and so on and so forth. So the other thing about this conference is human scale. I mean, what do we got here? Maybe 400 or 500 people at the most. Yeah. I mean, as everybody knows, anyone who went to Nashville last year, I went to Nashville trying to see people. I didn't run into anybody. It was so mobbed. Yeah. The big conference has become just that. It's become a really big conference. So these medium scale conferences they have a fun all their own. I mean, I've gotten to talk to a ton of people. People get to talk to me. In Las Vegas this year, I'm sure that's going to be a zoo.
Yeah.
So
it'll be a lot.
The small ones are good.
It'll be a lot, but that's what maybe gets the outside person to think a little bit more about Bitcoin. And
well, that's right. I mean, we've got to spread this message, folks. That's really what it is. I mean, everyone wonders what they can do. What you can do, if you're listening to this, is you can try and talk to your friends. This is a good idea. We know it's a good idea. There's a lot of evidence it's a good idea. Country's broken. So what do? You lobby your friends to try and understand why it's broken and how this is a good idea. That's really, that's my message.
Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending, with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally not only have an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to HODL while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you today. Simply Bitcoin viewers get 0.25% off their first loan by using the link in the video/podcast description. What are you waiting for? Head over to ledn.io today.